Okay, good morning from Melbourne. It's a nice, bright, sunny day, though Melbourne is also as cold as the cold that we experienced in Adelaide. But slightly less cold you feel here because the wind chill factor is slightly less compared to the cold that we had in Adelaide. Now, this is the venue for India's next match versus Zimbabwe. As the group games have turned out, that becomes a must-win game for India. India need to win that game after that result versus Pakistan. So now that Pakistan has won, India has to win the game versus Zimbabwe. Okay, let me quickly tell you some latest updates that have come in from the ICC in terms of what's going to be the new rules for the semi-final, and that's why I'm making this video for the new rules. Now, semi-finals will have a reserve day. So there's a reserve day for the semi-final because we are getting a lot of rain here in Australia. Keeping that in mind, there will be a reserve day for the semi-finals. Both semi-finals will have a reserve day, and also the game will resume from where it stopped. So for example, let's say 10 overs have been bowled on one day of the game, and then because of rain, if the game is stopped, then you are going to continue from the 11th over the next day. The reserve day, you will start from the 11th over. So that's the rule for the semi-final. Also remember, in terms of the semi-final that you've got, there's a other big change that you have in the semi-final, which is usually you know that T20 international games, minimum overs needed to complete, that is 5 overs. If 5 overs are done, that you know a semi-final is complete. But for the semi-final, minimum 10 overs need to be bowled in both innings. So that is another big change that has happened for the T20 World Cup. So minimum of 10 overs will constitute a game. But the advantage is there is a reserve day. So if it rains, then you go into the reserve day and carry on from where the game left off. Much like the 2019 World Cup semi-final, if you remember, between India and New Zealand, it carried on from where it left off. Similar provisions have been made, and similar thing as in you have a reserve day. But the difference is 10 overs minimum needed in terms of that. So that's the one rule that they have changed. In terms of washout, I've got a question from Anurag. Anurag, I'll have to check on that rule, but my understanding is, I think in terms of a complete washout, it's quite possible that the team that finished higher in their group may just move into the final. I think that has been the rule that ICC has followed earlier, and that may still be the rule, but just wait for me. I'll confirm that on our later videos that I do in the evening. But as of now, the reserve day is confirmed, and also minimum 10 overs needed to complete a game. Also let you know that now that New Zealand have won versus Ireland, they pretty much topped their group, which means the team that finishes second in India's group will play New Zealand, which at the moment most likely seems to be South Africa. So India, if they beat Zimbabwe, are going to top their group, in which case India then will play the team that finishes second, which right now looks like England. So barring any miracle, if there is a big upset or a big miracle, only then will the semi-final change. So as things stand right now, these are going to be your semi-finals. India will play England in Adelaide, and you will have New Zealand play South Africa in Sydney. So that's your semi-final lineup for now, pretty much confirmed. The only way this can change is if in that other group Sri Lanka end up beating England, in which case then Australia, if they win their final game today versus Afghanistan and by a big margin, then they can move on to the second spot, and so they become second, in which case they will play their semi-final in Sydney then. And then India then go on to play Sydney. Because Australia, come what may, have to play in Sydney. So only if Sri Lanka beat England, then Australia will qualify, and then Australia will play in Sydney. Then India, even if they top, will have to play in Sydney and not in Adelaide. Then things changes. But that's, as I said, it's going to be a major upset. Or the other upset is if Zimbabwe go on to beat India, then that's another major upset. Or if the South African game versus Netherlands, you can't expect Netherlands to beat South Africa, but if that game is a washout, then even that will change the equation, and Pakistan might escape through. So for Pakistan to come into the semi-final equation, either the South Africa game needs to be washed out, or South Africa need to lose to Netherlands, or India need to lose to Zimbabwe. Only then can Pakistan come in, and then also they have to beat Bangladesh. But those are hypothetical scenarios, rare scenarios. Unlikely any of those things is going to happen. So as I said, the only possible upset that could happen, because Sri Lanka is a good team, if they end up beating England, then Australia will sneak through and then India go into play in Sydney. That's the permutation combination. But as of now, you'd have to say 80% the semi-final lineup is all but done, where India will be topping their group and will be playing in Adelaide and playing against England, whereas New Zealand are topping their group and will be playing in Sydney, and they will be playing South Africa. That seems to be the semi-final lineup. Quickly updating you in terms of what the rules are. There is a reserve day. Game carries on from where it left off last time around, and minimum 10 overs are needed to be bowled. That's the latest from Melbourne. Let me give you a quick update about the Indian team. Indian team got here yesterday. That was a travel day, so they didn't practice. Today is a sort of a rest day for them, so they're going to be not practicing today. Tomorrow, a day before the Zimbabwe game, Indian team will be practicing. All those updates I'm going to bring you on Sports Today, so don't forget to tune in and subscribe to the channel. Right now, outside a beautiful airfield. It's a small airfield, not the Melbourne airport. This is from where smaller aircrafts take off. I hope you enjoy this scenery. Beautiful, nice cold weather here. Prashant Sharma says India just 3 matches away from lifting the trophy. That's true. They were 4 matches away, and Rahul Dravid said so. Now 3 matches. So yeah, they'll have to put their act together. You expect them to beat Zimbabwe. And okay, let me answer. So if Pak beats Bangladesh, then India will play the 3 knockouts. That's true, Akash. Yes, as I said, it's 3 straight games for India as knockout. Okay then, thank you so much for tuning in. Nikhil Nas signing off from Melbourne. Bye.